let's start.
Sure.
So very good afternoon and welcome for this particular call with TechHerald, and it's pleasure to have you. And let's start. So my first question is, uh, uh, as a CTO, you're looking after the SUSE Asia region. So, and it's been close to 3 years or more, I guess.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about, the roadmap of SUSE and in which direction the OpenSUSE Linux as well as the Linux enterprises are heading in 2025 or, going into the next year?
Yeah, sure, I can do that. And first of all, it's good to have this chat with you. So yeah, I was looking forward to that. So thanks for reaching out. Yeah, so let me give you a quick overview on our, I would say, our tech roadmap, right? And so if you look at SUSE, right, before I start, we are an open source company. We have an open source heritage that dates back to the early 1990s. And we started off as an enterprise Linux company. But today, if you look at our portfolio, we are driving innovation and we are bringing interoperable platforms to the market in four key areas. One is obviously Linux, and then next is cloud native, and then we have edge computing and we have artificial intelligence, right? So we basically provide solutions in these four different technology pillars. And if you look at the way that we are building these platforms, it actually starts from the base, which is based on Linux and cloud native, right? So that forms as our foundation. And if you look at Linux, if we talk about the roadmap, so we are going to be launching the latest and greatest generation of Linux, which is SUSE Linux version 16, very soon. I can't provide the exact dates because, then there'll be complications if we switch the dates here and there. But the current version that we have is SUSE Linux version 15 SP7, Service Pack 7, and we have already communicated openly. This is going to be the last service pack for SUSE Linux 15. So, and the next one that is coming out is SUSE Linux 16, and that is going to be significantly different in terms of architecture, in terms of function, and in terms of the way it is going to be addressing the newer requirements. So specifically what I mean for that is that version 16 of Linux will be streamlined not just for your older workloads, but it is also going to be designed for your future workloads. And when I say future workloads, it will mean workloads that are container-based, workloads that needs to run in remote edge environments, workloads that are AI workloads, right? AI workloads. So it's going to be designed for this type of workloads. And another thing is that you probably would know that we are going to have like a Y2K type of event in the year 2038, and that's because of the CPUs, right? The way that you create your variables in programming languages and the way it stores, right? So it's like a 32-bit integer to store the time date. So that means that 32-bit will be having an overflow in somewhere in January in 2038. And we are going to be making sure that SUSE Linux 16 doesn't end up with that issue. So that's going to be good news for customers. And I think another thing that I want to talk about is also the life cycle, because products that are used by enterprises, especially core infrastructure products like Linux, they want to have a long life cycle. So we are going to be supporting Linux beyond the year 2038. So that's a very, very long life cycle. So that's one part of the roadmap for Linux. And then there is something else that we have been seeing a lot of excitement about from the market, which is our approach to supporting multiple Linux flavors. So we have been seeing a lot of success for a solution that we have, which is called a SUSE multi-Linux solution. And essentially, we make sure that whatever popular versions of Linux are out there, be it from the likes of CentOS or Red Hat or Oracle or Ubuntu, we have a central management platform, a control plane to manage the entire life cycle of Linux, including to SUSE Linux, right? So it's one single plane to rule them all, if I will put it in that way. And what we'll be doing from their angle, right, from a roadmap angle, is we want to make sure that newer versions as they come out, right, be it from SUSE or be it from other versions, we are going to make sure that we will also be supporting those versions. So that covers Linux. And then if we talk about the roadmap for cloud native, so cloud native is our other foundational pillar, besides Linux. And in cloud native, we have a Gartner Magic Quadrant leading offering called Rancher Prime. And basically, Rancher Prime is a solution that helps you manage the full life cycle, security and observability for Kubernetes-based workloads, and it also comes with a Kubernetes engine. And what we have been trying to do a lot over the past, I would say, couple of quarters, and especially over the past 1.5 years, is to address a couple of key requirements from the market when it comes to developing workloads on Kubernetes, which is how do you simplify things? How do you make sure that whatever solution that we are using allows us to not just build requirements for today's needs, but it also is a bit able to handle a lot of the legacy workloads. And also, how do we do all these things in a secure manner? So a couple of things that we have announced that we have done this year with regards to that is really the whole thing about how do we make it easier for our customers to consume our offering, especially in custom organizations, the platform engineers, the DevOps teams. We are continuously going to roll out capabilities for them. Something that we launched out, that we released recently, is something known as like an application collection. Think it like an application store that gives customers curated access to cloud native tooling that they can use in conjunction with the Rancher Prime environment to roll out your modern workloads. We also recently announced support for certified storage solutions, cloud native storage solutions from the four major storage providers, for example, Dell, EMC, NetApp, and Portworx. And plus, we are also going to be continuously doing a lot in the space of security. Something else that we are also going to be doing over the next couple of quarters when it comes to Rancher Prime is also to develop more so-called offerings that could be easily integrated into Rancher Prime, specifically through the application collection. So think of it, the App Store, it's like an App Store, and whatever you have in the App Store, the solutions, we want to keep on growing. So today we have like 85 plus that we support, and we will continuously grow them. So based on these two foundational pillars, right, of cloud native and Kubernetes, then that is on top of that we build our two other solutions. So one solution is basically our SUSE Edge solution, and it is built on top of combination of Linux and Rancher Prime to help you build the solutions that are designed for smaller footprint at the remote edge environments. And you also get the full stack, what you call management at scale. So that's SUSE Edge. And what we are trying to do with SUSE Edge, and in terms of what customers can also expect from us in the future, we are going to try to address both normal edge use cases as well as industry-specific edge use cases. For example, the telco industry. So in that case, right, in that sense, let's say for the telco industry, we try to make sure that whatever we are building will align very well with the needs of the telco industry. And in addition to that, something else that we also want to do is to really identify niche use cases that can be repeated. So one of the niche use cases that we have, that I can share with you, that we have seen similar types of such use cases, is doing video analytics at the edge. And we have a couple of public references. One of them is Visual Cortex, and then we have another one in Japan as well. And we have some other customers looking at that as well. So the whole idea is to have like a video, maybe, and it depends on the context, but let's say in the case of a car park, let's say a car comes into the car park, you have a video solution, and it detects a number plate and it pulls out the record of the customer, so that when that customer enters into the shopping mall, very targeted types of promotion can be sent to that person's mobile phone. And all this is done through compute at within the car park itself, using a solution called Visual Cortex, which is basically powered by our SUSE Edge technology. And then finally, right, the fourth offering that we have is the SUSE AI platform, which again is built on top of Rancher Prime. And in that case, what we are really trying to do is to provide something like you can think of it as a middleware component for building AI applications. So it's a platform where we curate all the critical and popular AI technologies that you need, the popular LLMs that you need, the frameworks, the workflows, the pipelines. We provide all of you to that, and this is curated, it is secured, it complies with all the requirements. So you don't have to worry about what that platform is. You just focus on your workloads, right? The same concept that what happened many years ago in the space of Java and .NET. There were middleware like the .NET framework, and then in Java you have the application server. It gives you everything so that you just build your applications. So we are doing something similar to that extent, coming out with like a middleware for AI, a curated platform with everything that you need, and you can use all the technologies that the platform provides to build your workloads. And from a roadmap angle, what we are, because as you know, right, the AI domain is evolving so quickly. We have newer and newer LLMs coming out. As we speak, like every other fortnight, you'll have new toolings that are coming out. So what we are trying to do is to really look at, okay, which of these tools are going to be there for the long run, and then we'll try and integrate it with our solution, right? The frameworks and all that. Because some of them may be here and then they just disappear. So we have some teams who are looking at that as well. But really, ultimately, what we are looking at for the AI platform is how do we make sure that it has over time all the key capabilities that customers will need to build their AI workloads. So I would say that's how I would summarize, some of the key things from a roadmap that customers can expect from us.
Yeah. So one thing that more people would want to know is something around you as a CTO sitting in the Asia Pacific region. So
Yeah.
what's your major role, or what are the areas you normally look around in a company like SUSE, which is an open source? So what's your day to day, as a CTO? What are the functions? What are the things that normally you look around?
Yeah. So, let's say if I were to do a day in the life of Vishal, right? If I were to do that, so I would group my functions into three key pillars. The first, and I would say it's one of the most important ones, is meeting with our strategic customers and partners across the region. So that is something that I spend a lot of time on to meet our customer executives across the region. And it's a large region, right? Asia Pacific, and this also includes Japan, it includes Australia, New Zealand, India, and China as well, and the entire Greater China region, including Hong Kong and Taiwan. So I spend a lot of time engaging with our customers and partners in APAC. And something else that I do very frequently is basically evangelism. So I am very active in that domain, and I regularly represent the company when it comes to presenting at key events, key conferences. I also do a lot of thought leadership work through videos, through articles, PR interviews, media interviews like this. So the evangelism piece and the whole notion of continuously growing the mind share for SUSE in the Asia Pacific market, and specifically increasing the mind share um, in the areas of senior level IT leadership, that type of top leadership. And then finally, the third piece that I do is that because ultimately, while I'm in Asia Pacific, I report into our office of the CTO, which is headed by our global CTO. So something else that the team, that my team, our team gets into on a regular basis is to assess technology trends in the market, assess what are our customers, how our customers are using our products, and also assess what types of opportunities, I would say, what types of mergers or what types of acquisition opportunities exist. So doing a lot of research on this and internally presenting a point of view to our senior leadership, and this would be very important data points for them when, let's say, they want to make certain decisions around building new products, coming up with new go-to markets, responding to competition, and also assessing unscheduled, unplanned threats. Like for example, what's happening right now. Digital sovereignty is very important for a lot of countries, a lot of regions. So that is something that that's the third thing that I do. So yeah, so basically these are the three areas that take up my time.
Okay. And coming back to SUSE, early this year, I mean, company did expanded, capabilities around SUSE AI with AI specific observatories and security
Yeah,
guardrails and, agentic workforce, all those things. So, because a lot of things have been, every company is almost talking about around AI, right? So,
yes,
but in terms of SUSE being an open source, want to understand what is SUSE's AI approach, what
okay,
sort of role it wants to play in the AI domain.
right. So you are right. AI is a very big domain, and everybody is doing AI. In fact, my supermarket also says that they are also doing AI. The person who is selling the ice cream, he also says that he's doing AI. So everybody is doing AI, but we have a very niche and very, I would say, targeted value proposition for our customers, when it comes to AI. And so, first and foremost, we are an open source company, and we have been everything that we do is open. So, whatever we bring out to the market, number one, it's based on open source technologies. And that also means that whatever solutions that we are building, we are going to make it available out there, right? So that's very important. Now, one thing that is very clear is that when we look at enterprise AI, right, there are two parts to that. One is the whole area about building AI models and training AI models, and then the other part is inferencing, right, which is basically and you know what inferencing is like. Customers want to use all the various LLMs, so we are not focusing on the former. We are not in the space of training models or building models. We don't do that. We are very much in the inferencing space. Okay, so that's we want to be specific. This is an area we want to focus on. So that's number one. Number two, where we we think that we have a very different value proposition is that, like I mentioned earlier, right? A lot of customers today, they are trying out things that capabilities that they can get from the cloud providers, from Google, from AWS. Obviously, you have ChatGPT, you have Claude, and so on and so forth. And a lot of them are in the experimentation phase. But then when it comes to enterprise consumers, there is a very huge requirement for data protection, data privacy. And that means that they will need to run solutions on premises. So our solution runs on premises. It was designed to be running on premise for on premises use case, but it's not just an on premises use case, on premises platform. It's a hybrid AI platform. So you could run it on premises, you could run it on any of the cloud providers or on the private cloud. So that becomes very attractive to many customers because a lot of the confidential data that they want to use with AI, they probably wouldn't want to put it with Claude or ChatGPT, right? Even though they may say that, hey, you own the data, but ultimately the entire infrastructure is not yours. So for us, is you once you have your infrastructure, you can just put this AI platform on top of it, run it on premises, and if for certain use cases you want to run it on the cloud, you can also do that. So it's a hybrid platform. So that's another unique differentiator. The third is, if you look at the AI market today, AI market is very much driven by open source technologies. There are models which are a mix of, I won't say completely open core, because sometimes the training data is not available for some models. They tell the model is open, but the training data is not there. But then a lot of the peripheral technologies, like if you want to use something like to develop your models to integrate with other open source projects, what our value proposition is that we create a platform, and we, because of our vast experience in enterprising open source projects, what we do is you can use a lot of these common open source projects within your applications, and SUSE will be the one to take care of the life cycle of all these other peripheral projects that you're using. For example, an example of a peripheral project could be something like Open Web UI. So use Open Web UI, but if you use something from the open source, security is a concern, right? We all know that the perennial issue of open source projects is you get innovation, but then there'll be a lot of bugs, fixes, security issues. Who's going to fix that? So we are approaching this in the way that we have done in the past. We provide you with and we make sure that whatever you're using is enterprise grade, security is taken care of, so that you can be safe that whatever platforms that you are using are free from security issues.
So,
That's how. Sorry.
yeah, so basically, SUSE is not into providing models, right?
We don't provide the models, no. We are not in
Okay,
that case, yeah.
okay. And moving ahead in terms of SUSE or open source at large, all these years, or probably in last couple of decades, mostly our enterprises look at with the notion of around maybe like cost saving or non-vendor lock-in kind of notions. But has that notion changed in recent years or past decade? How are they looking now with the in the, because we have an AI, AML, all those things, new things are coming. So has that notion changed over the years in recent times?
Yeah, very good question. I would say that the notion might have evolved, not changed completely. But before I answer that question, I want there was another important thing with regards to the earlier thing on AI, right? Which is something that I would say key capability that we bring to our AI platform is something called AI observability. So, in a nutshell, what we are trying to do with our solution from an observability angle is that we want to make sure that whatever data and whatever workloads that you have built, you are number one able to understand why the AI outputs a certain response. Okay, you will have that visibility. You will also be able to understand how AI is using your underlying infrastructure. We don't want you to spend a big amount because you didn't know how your application was using, and we know how AI can consume a lot of underlying resources easily, right? And the third aspect around this is the whole notion of guardrails, having guardrails, because you want to make sure that whatever outputs that come out from AI is safe. Because over time, if you use the same model with a set of data, maybe it was trained against a certain set of data, but now that model would have drifted because you may have been using a lot of other data with the model, and then the model, every time you use the data, the model retrains itself. So there'll be data drift, and the outputs may not be safe or may change. So we have also incorporated things like guardrails. And so what I mean by guardrails also is like, let's say somebody types a prompt to get credit card numbers out of your enterprise systems. And that is possible. You could do that if somebody is smart and knows how things work. So the guardrails technology will prevent this sort of situations to actually occur. So that's to wrap up, another differentiation in our AI platform. So going back to your recent question, right? How has that changed? So I would say that um, a lot of vendors have changed their perspectives on open source. I'll give an example with what happened with, right, with Linux a couple of years back, and certain vendors decided to restrict access to Linux, right, open source code of Linux. And that created a lot of uproar because that really goes against a lot of the fundamental ethos of open source. So we see a lot of other vendors who are doing that, and the reason is, very obvious. While it's not put out in the open, is everybody is struggling to capture market share. There's a lot of pressure from the management, from the board, to do better every year. But when we talk about, for example, a market like Linux, which is very, very saturated, then how do you change that, right? How do you change that? So certain tweaks in the way you govern your open source principles, some of them are making so that they create a differentiation. Like, if you want to use just basic capabilities, you can get it from open source projects. But if you want all the advanced capabilities, which is what enterprises will need anyway, then you need to you need to get a subscription. So this is a change that I've seen a lot of companies have done that. For example, HashiCorp, they were in the news for doing something like that as well. And a lot of other vendors, like for example, Confluent, they have an enterprise version, and then they have a community edition, and they're very different. But I think SUSE is still sticking to our principles. So we actually have the most number of downloads for Venture, more than anyone else. And a lot of customers today, we still find community users of Venture that we never knew that are using Venture effectively for free. But a lot of them have, over the years, have also moved to the paid version because they needed support and all that. Um, Something else I mentioned earlier, the whole notion of digital sovereignty is coming up quite a bit in today's what you call conversations. And that aligns very well with a lot of the things SUSE has always been talking about, which is about providing customers with choice to choose the systems that support your business, interoperability with the entire tech ecosystem, and flexibility to use a mix of solutions instead of being locked in. With the whole digital sovereignty thing, and the market dynamics, and how America is viewing the rest of the world, uh, a lot of these concerns are beginning to come up again. Because to be honest, maybe let's say 5 years or 10 years ago, there were a set of customers who believed that it's okay if I don't have choice. It's okay if I don't have interoperable solutions. It's okay if I don't have the flexibility to switch to another vendor. I'm fine with going all in with one vendor, with one stack, because that means it's easy for me to do business. I work with just one party. But now, because of what we are seeing in the market, the whatever SUSE has been talking about all these times, right? It's again becoming a very important. It has always been important. No, I'm not saying that it's not, but a lot of customers today are deliberately ensuring that they have this choice. Right? So this is basically something else that is popping up. And finally, right, something else in terms of how customers are deploying technology today is the very great emphasis on security. Like, because the environments that they're using today are so complex, right? You have public cloud, you have on premises, you have edge, and then now you have even AI generated attacks. So the whole notion of software that you build must be secure, and software that you use provided by vendors, that also needs to be secure. And so we see a lot of vendors being asked by customers to demonstrate that they are compliant with some of the important standards out there in the market. And we pride on having all of the top security certifications. So I would think these are some of the thoughts that I have. Open source is still extremely important. The whole notion of digital sovereignty, and you own your data, you own your software. That is something that open source inherently provides you with. That again is becoming very, very important.
So, but also, I mean, little bit just take a minute on that.
Yeah.
Even the vendors that were very very kind of strong or had strongly opposed the idea of open source maybe a decade back or a half, they are also probably aligning, opening certain aspect of the software development, and they are using open source tools. So I mean that situation has sort of kind of fizzled down, which was there in the early 2000s. That is no longer there, right? So that's what the market is seeing.
That's right. Yeah. I think what you are saying is that today proprietary software doesn't exist, right?
I mean, it's still there, but it was
Yeah.
not, like what we have heard or what was the stance of certain companies in the early 2000s.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and part of the challenge why they have to change their stance is today all modern innovation happens through open source communities, right? And we have so many people coming together. So why? And I think that is a downside as well, because the same vendors that I think I know who you're talking about, they are doing not much in that contribution phase, but they are very active in using what is out there for their own use, because open source is not just about consuming. More important is about giving back, so contributing to popular projects, because that's how the communities thrive.
Yeah. So Vishal, before we just wrap this call, just quick questions I have in terms of as you did mention, enterprises are talking, or everybody is doing, we are doing AI in a way. But when you look from a customer point, like large organization or enterprises, what are the key one or two challenges when it comes to AI adoption or deployment?
Yeah, I think the number one that I hear very commonly is that they, most enterprises, when they invest in something, they are doing it for the long run, right? So because you don't get something and then you change 6 months down the road. So their challenge is that the market is evolving so quickly that what used to be hot today, it's no longer, maybe 3 months down the road. So that is a struggle, right? So how do they decide what level of investment they should be making, when it comes to, artificial intelligence? That is why what I find that a lot of them are trying out services that are provided by the cloud providers, or your, the common AI providers like ChatGPT and all that. And it's stopping short of really going big bang. There are of course customers, large customers are doing that. But one of the concerns is this, right? Okay, so if I set up something now, then will how long will it be before whatever I have set up is like obsoleted, right? And I think this is one of the reasons why we were also very aware of that. That's why we thought let's focus on the platform, because the platform won't go obsolete. The technologies on top of it may, right? So that's one thing. Another common challenge is the whole notion of data privacy, right? Data privacy. So uh, how do you do AI in a way that is private, and not just private internally, but also private internally to different teams, right? Because different data, you don't want to deploy, you don't want to put all your internal data and then everybody has access to everything, right? So how you go about doing that? And the final thing is really a lot of the security related issues of AI. How do you trust what's coming out? What are the guardrails that you have put in place? And do you truly understand what's coming out of your models, right? So these are some of the things that I hear there are challenges, but at the same time, nobody is like not doing sitting on their laurels. Everybody is doing things. So every meeting that I have, everyone is doing something. If I go to China, they are doing some things with DeepSeek. If I go to this part of the world, they may be trying out some new technology that is provided by the cloud provider. Everybody is doing something, but if you ask me, has how frequently do I come across customers who will share with me, okay, this is my 3-year AI strategy, and what am I going to do in year 1 year? Very few will actually have reached that level.
Okay. And since you said you do connect with customers in different part of the world,
Yeah.
and very recently, one of the key initiative was this alliance between SUSE, HP, and Infosys. That has was announced a couple of months back. So
Hmm.
how is that? You see that particular unique alliance is going to drive, because that's AI adoption. That's the core area the alliance is going to focus on. So how can you throw quick light on that particular alliance?
So are you talking about something that we announced in the responsible AI and the guardrails space? Is that what you are talking about?
No, this is, I think it was announced in India. I think this Infosys HP SUSE alliance at the SUSE's conference, which focus on driving AI adoption.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it's the same thing because somewhere in March at our annual conference, right, SuseCon, we announced this partnership with Infosys
Yeah.
to deliver basically the guardrails and the responsible AI. So I believe you may be talking about the same thing because, but you mentioned with HPE as well. Because
Yeah, there were three part. I think it was announced in India, I think.
hmm, okay. Unfortunately, yeah, I Yeah, I think it is the same thing because yeah, it's a Infosys HPE and SUSE is the same thing. But basically what we are basically doing together with Infosys, right? So the guardrails technology that I talked about, so Infosys has a deep practice in AI, and they have some libraries that allow you to do guardrails. So what we are doing is taking that piece and integrating together with our platform, our AI platform, so that becomes another capability that customers get together with together with our AI platform. Yeah. And then when we talk about HPE, right? HPE will also act as our what you call our like acts as a system integrator together with us. So that's why it's like a three-way partnership together with us. And HP brings in a lot of the consulting, and then Infosys has their guardrails piece, and together we are going to market. So I think that was more or less what we actually announced, and announced in March at the conference. And I think we repeated the same message to the different APAC markets as well.
Okay. So, Vishal, with that, we are done. Our conversation has been done. So first of all, thank you again, for this particular time on this call.